when a woman is wearing a swimsuit, it's the most naked she will ever be in public. And as a woman, I'm acutely aware of this. And so the swimwear buying experience is sort of fraught with these sort of psychological, like, oh my God, how do I look? Da, da, da. And so, and then to what you were saying, the industry is still just totally overwrought with images of women in these string bikinis. I mean, still now, if you were to Google like women swimsuit in Google image search, you get women slathered in like tanning oil on like an uncomfortable cliffside that clearly has been directed and intended for the male gaze. And so, what I really thought we had the opportunity to do with Andie is create a company by women for women that changes the conversation.
Sylvia and me.
Sylvia and
Sylvia and me.
Sylvia and Sylvia and
Sylvia.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Beckerman, host of the podcast series Sylvia and Me, conversations with extraordinary, inspiring women.
Hi, my name is Melanie Travis. I'm the founder and CEO of Andie Swim. We are the fastest growing digitally native swimwear brand for women. And I'm so happy to be on Sylvia and Me.
Melanie, thank you so much. And yes, you are. Andie Swimwear is growing leaps and bounds. I know you started, the concept came up in 2016. Before we go into that, can you tell me, what was your background before swimwear?
Yeah, so I have no background in product or swimwear or even fashion. My background is in sort of consumer marketing for disruptive brands. I started my career at a company called Foursquare, and then I worked at Kickstarter, the crowdfunding platform, and then BarkBox, a subscription box for dogs. So I've really been all in the sort of New York City startup ecosystem. All of those companies have raised, north of tens of millions of dollars from venture investors. So the sort of VC-backed startup ecosystem is my wheelhouse, and within that, marketing to consumers, something on the internet, selling stuff on the internet would be a short way of putting it. And that was my background before I started Andie.
Okay, so I know that going out and buying a swimsuit is, I would say, fallacious is my word for it. It's not a very nice, it's not a great experience. Especially when there are times when the salesperson would always come and say, can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? Let me see. Well, I don't want to see it. I'm not showing it to you. So I'd like to know, why swimwear?
Yeah. So, given my background at startups, I kind of understood how you start something. And I really wanted to start my own thing, but I sort of struggled to find an idea. And then in the summer of 2016, I was going on a work retreat with BarkBox to a lake in upstate New York. And I had exactly the experience you just described in terms of looking for a swimsuit. I just struggled to find something. The shopping experience was so frustrating and annoying. And, in store, you have to go in these tiny dressing rooms, and online, I didn't know where to go. And I didn't understand why there wasn't something that just offered, a beautiful collection that looks good, that feels good, that's easy to shop for. That was what I wanted. And that was a sort of light bulb moment. And I thought, if I'm struggling so much with this, it must be, an issue shared by women more than just me. And so I talked to some of my female colleagues and friends and family members. And what I heard was, again, pretty much exactly what you just said, so much frustration. And I thought, clearly there's a chorus of voices saying this industry is broken. This is the idea that I'm going to pursue. I don't know how to make a swimsuit. I don't know anything about fashion. I don't know anything about production, but I'm going to go start a swimwear line. And it's with that naivete that I set out. And now here we are 3.5 years later in the heart of the garment district with a pretty strong brand. So, so far, so good.
All right. So as you said, you had no fashion experience, you had technology experience, you had marketing experience.
Right.
And you kind of knew that you wanted people to have a good experience, swimwear. How did you decide to start? Where was your what's the first starting point? Because everyone has a lot of ideas, but how did you start it? What was the first thing you did?
Yeah, it's always hard to know where to start with something. I think in my case, I mentioned I had worked at a company called Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding platform for creative ideas. And so I decided to do essentially a crowdfunding campaign for this idea. I wanted to see if other women, yes, I talked to women, but would women pay for something? And so I basically wrote out my idea, a curated collection. At the time, it was just going to be 3 one-piece designs, just as sort of simple and curated as you can be. And I wrote out the idea, and I hired a friend who's a sort of sketch artist to sketch out some basic concepts for some one-piece swimsuits. And I put it up on a crowdfunding campaign, and I said, look, the idea would be, black, navy, just real classic. Would you be interested in buying this? If I raise, I think I'd set a goal of maybe $20,000 or something. If I raise $20,000 from women over the next 3 weeks who sort of raise their hand with their wallets and say, yes, I'm interested, then I will figure out how to do all of this, because I'll have a little bit of seed money, that $20,000, to go out and start. And if I can't succeed, then that's fine. I'll go, I'll keep my day job. And within 3 weeks, had raised well north of the $20,000, and women were coming out of the woodwork saying, please start this company. So with that little bit of money, I basically started calling everyone I could on LinkedIn, friends of friends, anyone who knew anything about fashion and product and design and supply chain, to just learn. I tried to give myself a crash course in how to do this. And I ended up being connected with a freelance swimwear designer, and she then connected me with a person who makes patterns, and basically went on and on from there. And but it really started with just the crowdfunding campaign and some phone calls. I mean, it's a long and winding road to how I got here, but essentially, like, I had the product side going at one point through these phone calls and meeting people, and I got to know a little boutique manufacturer in downtown LA, and I would go talk to them about what I was doing. And so I had that piece, and once all those parts were rolling, I started doing the sort of like digital side, and I hired a web designer and a web developer and a creative designer to do a logo and all the pieces. I was just sort of project managing all the pieces, and I raised a little more money, and we launched in April of 2017. Roughly 7 months after I had the idea.
So I know that one of the things that a lot of people try doing, especially if they're starting something on their own, they want it to be theirs, and they're afraid of sharing that with anyone. And then they take on so much, and they look at their revenues instead of looking what it's actually really costing them. I understand that you knew that you didn't have that fashion know-how. So you actually did something that most people wouldn't do. You found a manufacturer.
I did, correct. Because I don't have that know-how, and because I wanted to really be able to scale the business, I wanted to find a manufacturing partner who could really partner with the brand and not just be a sort of traditional, I pay you for this and then you do that. I wanted the manufacturer to have skin in the game and really care about the product and the materials and all of that, and be deeply incentivized. And so I essentially went door to door here. I'm in the heart of the garment district in New York City. And I essentially went door to door, meeting all the major manufacturers and pitching them on this idea. Like, look, I'm a great e-commerce marketer. I understand consumer behavior. I understand building brands on the internet. You guys are sort of world-class swimwear manufacturers. Together, we could have the potential to build truly a generation-defining swimwear brand. And major manufacturers in this day and age are really all looking to have a foot in e-commerce. They're really excited about the space, and they're primarily wholesale businesses, but they'd love to be more digital. And so I think that pitch resonated, and I ended up striking a deal with a great manufacturing partner. I'm actually in their sort of global headquarters here in New York City. We have our own little office here, and it's been a wonderful partnership, and they have scaled with us all the way. And, we can pretty much scale to the moon with these guys. So it's been great. And they, they really know and understand swimwear manufacturing, so they make a very high quality product. And especially when there's a global pandemic like COVID, they're so diversified with factories that we didn't even have any sort of supply chain interruptions. So it's not like we're operating a tiny little mom and pop thing here. We're able to, even though we're a small and growing startup, we're able to sort of navigate global pandemics with the size of a major player behind us.
Well, speaking to that, even though you're a technology background and e-commerce, you're a very successful startup right now. But how did it feel? I understand that you had some glitches in building the software because you wanted to do your own, website.
Yep.
Definitely. Tell us the story about when you actually hit the sold out one of the styles that you had. What happened?
Oh yeah. So we have. Are you referring to the Mykonos when that? Yeah. So the Mykonos. I mean, has been the suit that we have struggled to keep in stock because we just didn't anticipate how popular it would be, and we sold out of it way too fast. We definitely thought that something was wrong with our site. We didn't understand why people couldn't check out, and I could not believe that they would all have been sold out like that. And so we put a little button on the page saying, notify me when it's in stock. And we thought, okay, we'll get another shipment in and we'll see what happens. And when the shipment came in, because this is also, there's a lot of technology that happens behind the scenes. When a shipment comes into the warehouse, it's loaded through a number of devices and uploaded onto our site. And there's no human that really touches any of that. So it was probably the middle of the night. We didn't know what was happening. And I woke up to just a massive, it was our biggest day in the history of Andie. And it was out of control how much sold so quickly. We sold out right away again and had all these angry people saying, like, we got this email, at 1 a.m. and by 9 a.m. it was all sold out again. So that's been sort of an ongoing struggle to keep that, it's a champagne problem.
Okay. Now, swimwear. Usually when someone is shopping for swimwear and you look in the magazines, you see string bikinis. You see so many things that the regular, everyday woman really cannot wear. She might think at some point, but in all reality, I don't know anyone who really wants to wear that stuff. And it's really not geared towards women as much as what everyone else would like to see a woman in.
Exactly.
You've taken that to a different level.
Yeah.
Can you tell, so I understand that the design the initial designs came from you wanting to find something for yourself, and then of course asking friends and family what it is they would like to see.
Yep.
When somebody goes onto your website, you see a variety of different types of people, which you don't usually do. How did you decide to, one, come up with the first 3 or 4 styles that you did, and then to really want to make an experience for women a much better and a more comfortable and basically an empowering feel? I can't think of the word.
Yeah, empowering
Experience.
Yeah, empowering experience. I mean, that's core to what we do, and that's always been the goal, really, from the beginning. When a woman is wearing a swimsuit, it's the most naked she will ever be in public. And as a woman, I'm acutely aware of this. And so the swimwear buying experience is sort of fraught with these sort of psychological, like, oh my God, how do I look? Da, da, da. And so, and then to what you were saying, the industry is still just totally overwrought with images of women in these string bikinis. I mean, still now, if you were to Google like women swimsuit in Google image search, you get women slathered in like tanning oil on like an uncomfortable cliffside that clearly has been directed and intended for the male gaze. And so, what I really thought we had the opportunity to do with Andie is create a company by women for women, that changes the conversation and is really changes the way that women shop for swimwear, and is with inclusivity as a core part of our DNA. And so, yeah, so when we do photo shoots, we don't go to the sort of traditional modeling agencies and cast models. We work with micro influencers in our community that we think reflect the sort of diversity of our community. And we work with customers. We shoot ourselves. I have been on the homepage of andieswim.com. And I can tell you, when I started Andie, I never intended to be photographed in a swimsuit on the homepage of the website, but so it happened. And I think, we're trying to have fun with it and be really open and show people that like you can be comfortable and empowered. And I mean, our whole sort of purpose is to help women feel comfortable and confident in a swimsuit. And so that's really just been important from day one, changing the conversation around swimwear shopping, and what that looks like. And then the last thing I'll say about that is, I think I forgot my final point on that. I guess, no, okay. The last thing I'll say is that it is working. It's working both in the numbers, right? Like, I think that, a lot of men have historically said like, oh no, you need to do, skinny models because it's, aspirational shopping and it won't work if you don't do that. And I think what we're showing is it does work from a business perspective. It's not just a feel-good perspective. We've grown so much. And anecdotally, the feedback that we get from our customers is incredibly strong and moving, with women writing to us, telling us, it's the first time in 20 years that they've put on a swimsuit and they feel good, or it's the first time they've put on a swimsuit at all, or like they finally feel like they've still got it. And that kind of, we hear that all the time. And that just makes us so happy that women are like, ideally when you're wearing a comfortable swimsuit, you just forget that you're wearing anything at all. You don't have to tug and pull and like be scared of, pieces dropping out or whatever. And so, so that's been the goal from the beginning, and so far so good on that front. And then as for the designs, to the beginning of your question, I mean, that's the lens with which we designed the first suits. What are suits that are, like they're not Speedos, they're more stylish than that, but they're comfortable and flattering and stylish, and supportive. And that has informed every style decision that we've ever made for what we make.
Well, that's very important. And that's where so much communication is lost. And women don't understand that they don't have to be uncomfortable. I'll never forget going to a store and looking at a pair of shoes and trying them on. I went, oh, these are uncomfortable. And the woman actually said to me, oh, well, a little bit of pain to look good. And I'm thinking, lady, you got that.
No way.
And that's kind of how we were, the society has brought us up so much, is to what's a little discomfort. Well, it's
no reason for
you
that.
lose so much of yourself. I'm picturing, there's pictures of Marilyn Monroe. She was not skinny. Jane Mansfield was not skinny. They had healthy bodies, and you saw pictures of them in one-piece suits. They didn't have to wear a two-piece suit to be sexy and feel good. Now, we can't all look like Marilyn Monroe, who I think is gorgeous, but we can definitely feel good about ourselves, which absolutely. I think, one of the main ideas behind all of this is empowering women. And you have something that it's a woman-owned company. Yep. That caters to women, listening to what women want. And it started off with what you wanted, what you were looking, which there was no supply, let alone demand. There was a lot of demand, quiet demand. Yep. There was no supply out there.
Exactly.
So one of the things that I know that you've said is that you want entrepreneurs to know that the barrier to entry is low. That you can take an idea, and you knew that you started off with Kickstarter, and you had you had a ceiling of, if it didn't work, then you do something else, but it turned out it worked.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to women who are looking to start something of their own?
The advice I would give is just do it. Not to quote a major brand out there, but perfect is the enemy of good, or however that expression goes. I think a lot of times I when I speak with sort of young entrepreneurs, they're working on their idea. They want it to be perfect. They're afraid of what the reception will be, and what I always say is just put it out there, because at the end of the day, you're probably not going to be everything to everyone, nor is that necessarily what you want to do. And you have to get your idea out there and listen to customers. And consumers are savvy. They really, really are. And they will let you know what they want and what they don't want. And I think it's much better to get a sort of messy product out there. I mean, something functioning, but it doesn't have to be perfect, out there. Listen to the feedback and then iterate as you go. And if I had held on to Andie until I thought it was perfect, I mean, who am I to know what perfect is, and so we got it out there, a really basic version. And that's really what I would tell, anyone. Just get it out there, put your idea to the test, and don't be too married to it, because if it doesn't work out, that's okay. You can pivot, you can change, you can, stop that and do something else. It would be great to see, in particular, of course, more women getting their ideas out into the world.
I so agree with you. I understand you've expanded into another item, haven't you? I read someplace.
Which item are you?
Oh,
Well,
you have many items. Tell me.
No, I don't. I'm not sure. Which one?
A down, not down. What's it called? Yeah, a down parker or jacket.
Oh, interesting. Yes. So that's an interesting story. Once you've launched something that has some amount of success in the D2C apparel space, you start to get approached by other manufacturers that are like, hey, I make this and I would love to do a partnership like what you did. You clearly know how to build a brand on the internet. Let's do a partnership. I get that quite a lot. And I was approached by an outerwear manufacturer, and I helped to get that company off of the ground. It's since changed names. It's called Harper Coats now. So I helped to get that company off the ground, get the pieces needed to launch, a successful partnership. And then I recruited a CEO, installed her as the CEO of the company. I remain an advisor to that company, but I'm no longer sort of operationally involved. But I love doing that. And there's sort of a playbook. It's a little bit of a playbook, a little bit of like magic and gut feel that goes into it. And I think it's really fun to build businesses that that are born on the internet and that sort of disrupt major categories. And that was the goal with the coats. And hopefully we'll have a big season, come this fall. Though I won't be involved in the day-to-day, it was really fun to bring to life.
So swimwear, you mentioned pandemic, and we're living in a pandemic right now. Where do you see, I'm sure that right now, I know we talked about it, you're designing or stocking up or manufacturing or all three of these for winter, for the start of 2021. Where do you see the industry going with everything the way it is right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting in swim in the pandemic because, swimwear is a travel related category. So you would think that it's pretty far down given that travel has largely slowed. But in fact, I think that's probably true for swimwear sold sort of wholesale or in brick and mortar. But given the vast movement of people going from in-store shopping to online shopping because of the pandemic, it has actually dramatically increased the addressable audience. And so swimwear, at least for us, and from what I understand with my peers in the industry, is actually way, way up right now, e-commerce swim. And COVID has been, for better or for worse, more of a tailwind than a headwind for our category if we're selling online. And so we've been benefiting from that through this summer. I think I think if 2020 has taught me anything, it's that I have no idea what's around the corner, and hoping for a strong sort of like end to the year here. And then we'll see what happens in 2021. But, the hope would be, if we get a vaccine, if we're able to come out of the pandemic and people have decided that online shopping is where they want to spend their money, we could see a really, really big boost to the category for years to come.
Well, not only online shopping, but as you set out to do, you've helped women empower themselves in being able to get quality online. And you've got some experts within your company. When I say experts, really good people who understand women, who it's almost like being in the store with a salesperson, except you don't have to have that feeling of being uncomfortable. So I think what you're doing for women is a great thing, and probably sales during the pandemic, because it's almost like a fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
You get to go and you buy a couple and you feel good, and then you can't wait to put it on.
Like a vacation in a box.
And we're going to get out of this at some point, and everyone will be able to go out and feel good. It's a very empowering feeling. You mentioned your website. Can you give it again for people to get information? I think there's information about you on there also.
There is. So you can shop us at andieswim.com. That's ANDIE swim.com. And also follow us on all the social channels like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, always at Andie Swim.
And for anyone who's listening, this is just one of the reasons why I wanted Melanie on today is because there is empowerment in being able to do something and feel good about yourself, even if it's just a swimsuit. Hey, it's about time.
It's about time.
Melanie, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
You can find us on all of your popular podcast platforms, and of course our website, sylviame.com. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned.